The conversation around the Dallas Cowboys right now feels like it's building towards something much bigger than just another offseason. There's a tension in the air, a sense that this franchise is standing at a crossroads where every decision, from the draft board to potential blockbuster trades, could reshape the identity of this team for years to come. And when you look closely at everything unfolding, one thing becomes clear. This is not a team that's rebuilding. This is a team trying to reload while simultaneously redefining itself on the fly. It starts with the most obvious issue staring this roster in the face, and that's the linebacker position. For a franchise that has historically thrived when its defense plays fast, aggressive, and instinctive football, the current state of the second level feels incomplete. That's why the growing connection between Texas standout Anthony Hill Jr. and the Cowboys is more than just a feel-good storyline. It's a glimpse into what Dallas wants to become defensively. Hill isn't just another prospect. He represents speed, versatility, and a modern defensive identity. And when he openly talks about wanting to play alongside DeMarvion Overshown, calling it a blessing and admitting he's modeled parts of his game after him, that's not just admiration. That's alignment. Imagine what that pairing could look like in the middle of this defense. Overshown has already begun to emerge as a foundational piece, a player whose range and instincts allow him to impact plays sideline to sideline. Adding Hill to that equation would give Dallas something they've been missing for years: true speed and synergy at linebacker. Two players who can run, cover, diagnose, and attack. In today's NFL, where offenses are built to exploit hesitation, that kind of duo can completely change how a defense operates. But here's where things get complicated. The Cowboys aren't just picking once in the first round. They're picking twice, at 12 and 20, and that creates both opportunity and pressure. Because while linebacker is a need, it's far from the only one. The edge position is in transition. The secondary is being reshaped. And the overall defensive identity is still under construction. That's why names like Arvell Reese and Caleb Downs are being heavily discussed. These are not just prospects. These are potential tone setters. Reese, in particular, feels like the kind of player who could redefine the front seven. A hybrid presence who can rush the passer and drop into coverage. He mirrors the kind of versatility that once made this defense dangerous. Downs, on the other hand, represents the evolution of the secondary. A do-it-all safety who can line up anywhere, disguise coverages, and create turnovers. If either of those players is on the board at 12, the decision might be made for Dallas. But the real intrigue begins when those top-tier defenders are gone. Because that's when the Cowboys are forced to think differently. That's when players like Jacob Rodriguez enter the conversation. And if you haven't been paying attention to Rodriguez, you're missing one of the most fascinating prospects in this entire class. This is a player who didn't follow the traditional path. A former quarterback turned defensive playmaker, he brings a level of intelligence and anticipation that you simply cannot teach. His ability to force turnovers is not just impressive, it's rare. 7 forced fumbles in a single season is not a fluke. It's a reflection of instincts, timing, and relentless effort. When you combine that with his athletic profile and his understanding of offensive tendencies, you start to see why he could be exactly what this defense needs. Not just a tackler, but a disruptor. Not just a presence, but a problem for opposing offenses. And yet, even with all these draft possibilities, there's an underlying question that refuses to go away. What if the Cowboys don't wait for the draft to solve their biggest issues? What if they go all in? Because suddenly, the idea of trading for Myles Garrett doesn't feel as impossible as it once did. Contract adjustments have made him more flexible from a cap standpoint, and Dallas has already shown a willingness to make aggressive offers for elite pass rushers. They were in the mix for Max Crosby. They put real assets on the table. And if they were willing to do that then, what's stopping them now? A move like that would change everything. It would instantly give this defense a cornerstone, a player who commands double teams and alters game plans. But it would also come at a cost, likely both first-round picks and possibly more. That's the kind of decision that defines a front office. Do you build through youth and depth, or do you swing for greatness? Right in the middle of all this uncertainty, there's one figure who might matter more than any player acquisition, and that's Christian Parker. Because no matter who the Cowboys draft or trade for, it's Parker who has to make it work. It's Parker who has to take a group that struggled mightily and turn it into something cohesive, aggressive, and effective. This is where the conversation shifts from talent to philosophy. Parker isn't just installing a new scheme. He's redefining how this defense thinks, how it reacts, how it attacks. The move to a 3-4 system isn't just a schematic change. It's a statement. It's about flexibility, about creating confusion, about maximizing the strengths of the players on the roster. And that's why the edge position becomes so critical. Players like Cassius Howell represent the kind of high-upside, high-speed talent that can thrive in this system. Howell's explosiveness off the snap, his ability to bend around the edge, and his relentless motor make him a perfect fit for a defense that wants to create chaos. He's not a finished product, but in the right role, he could be a game changer. At this point, if you're still watching, this is where the Real conversation begins. Because everything the Cowboys do from here on out is going to define their identity. So if you believe this team should go all in for a superstar like Garrett, or if you think they should build through the draft and trust Parker to develop young talent, now is the time to make your voice heard. Drop your take in the comments and be part of this debate, because this offseason is shaping the future of the franchise. There's also a quieter storyline developing, one that speaks to the legacy of this organization. The possibility of E.J. Smith, son of Emmitt Smith, working out for the Cowboys. It's a reminder of what this franchise once was, a dominant force built on iconic players and championship culture. Whether E.J. Smith ever wears a Cowboys uniform remains to be seen, but the symbolism is undeniable. And then there's the schedule, the possibility of opening the season against the Seattle Seahawks in a rare Wednesday kickoff game adds another layer of intrigue. It's a spotlight moment, a chance for Dallas to set the tone for the entire season on a national stage. These are the kinds of moments where narratives are built, where expectations are either validated or shattered. But ultimately, everything comes back to one central theme. The Cowboys are not lacking options. They're facing an abundance of them. Draft a linebacker like Hill and build a fast, modern defense. Take a hybrid weapon like Reese and reshape the front seven. Add a playmaker like Downs and transform the secondary. Roll the dice on a high-upside disruptor like Rodriguez. Or go all in and chase a generational talent like Garrett. Each path leads to a different version of this team. Each decision carries its own risks and rewards. And that's what makes this moment so fascinating. Because for the first time in a long time, it feels like the Cowboys are not just reacting to the league. They're trying to define their place in it. As we look ahead, one thing is certain. This offseason will not be judged by headlines or hype. It will be judged by results. By how this defense performs. By whether Parker can turn potential into production. By whether the front office can finally deliver a roster that lives up to the expectations that come with wearing that star. So if you want to stay ahead of every move, every rumor, and every decision that shapes this team, make sure you subscribe and stay locked in. Because what happens next for the Dallas Cowboys isn't just another chapter. It might be the one that changes everything.